How would the Predator fare against the most iconic horror villain slashers? Let's find out. If you're no stranger to the channel, you should know that we're doing a whole spooky season event. Fun fact, I put a poll at the beginning of the month and I asked you guys what kind of horror villain representation did you want to see. And number one was slasher horror villains. So with that being said, let me compensate. As this week, we're going to be scaling the likes of Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, as well as a couple of others to see how they would fare against the universe's deadliest creature. I think that this is a very interesting matchup as a lot of horror movie slashers are hunters in their own regard. So what if we flip the tables on them and we send a hunter after them? Would they reassert themselves at the top of the food chain up against a Yaoja, or would they find themselves to be in the Predator's trophy case when it was all said and done? So join us today as we'll go into that very topic. But if that sounds interesting to you, then be sure to subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 100,000 subscribers, and I think that at this particular moment we've got around 99k. I think we've hit it by now, so if we hit it, thank you. And I got a special announcement at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. But hey, even though we more than likely hit the goal by now, be sure to join, because if anything, us hitting our year goal is just the start of another journey. So you're still no G in my book if you subscribe this very second. We scale pretty much anything here on the channel, like literally anything. So statistically speaking, odds are I've covered or I plan to cover something that you're mildly interested in. We post tons of content with a long format video such as this, as well as multiple shorts throughout the week. So considering everything is free, you're going to be getting a lot of content out of me. But with the shilling out the way, let's get into the topic that you clicked the video to find out. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre was probably one of the most influential films in the slasher genre, period. So what better place to start than by discussing Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. And once again, this guy is pretty much the OG, and because of that, his feats are a lot more casual and streamlined, such as the fact that he can ram through doors, he's physically stronger than the average human being, he's able to one-shot people with his weapons, whether that's his chainsaw, as well as mallets and hammers. As for his durability, he can survive getting somewhat cut up by his chainsaw, and people can just repeatedly hit him on the head with large stones and he's pretty much fine for the most part. So he's obviously a peak to street level character, possibly edging out into those wall level ranges, but there's nothing really in the series that I can get to really get him that high. Like obviously there's comics that actually get him to wall like objectively, but I don't really rely on that type of stuff, as that kind of borderlines on me just giving you guys a comp Leatherface, and I don't really want to do all that. I'm just trying to stick to the movies for the most part. So with AP established, what about his speed? And this is actually something that's really impressive for the most part, as in a film he's able to deflect a shotgun blast with his chainsaw. So ironically, in terms of at least his combat and reaction speeds, he's a subsonic to supersonic speed character. So how would the Predator fare up against him? And I think he would be fine for the most part, as the Predator deals with superhuman level characters. Like during the OG Predator film alone, he's bullying Dutch Strafer for the most part, and that's a character who with his casual tosses can pin grown men to walls just with his knife tosses. Keep that in mind, as the Predator gets hit by Dutch Strafer using a freaking log, and the log just pulverizes on his skin. So that goes to show you how durable the Predator is. Like, it's a wall level showing. And as for his plasma caster, that's a weapon that's able to consistently generate small building level explosions. So for whatever reason you don't think the Predator is gonna box out Leatherface, he's just gonna blitz and one shot him with his plasma caster. So yep, that's my take on this matchup. Similar to how the Texas Chainsaw Massacre invented the slasher genre, let's move on to a character who arguably helped reinvent and give new life to the genre in question, being Ghostface, the titular antagonist of Scream. And there's been tons of Ghostfaces for the most part, so let's just use a comp movie Ghostface, right? So just take whatever favorite Ghostface is your favorite, and we're gonna just give that version of the character all the feats that the movie versions have shown to make it more streamlined. And unironically, this guy's already stronger than Leatherface, as even the OG's Ghostface could just bust through windows to a street plus level yield, bordering on wall level. This type of durability in AP is consistent, as another Ghostface was able to get slammed through a table to a wall level yield and get up pretty much unscathed. Tons of Ghostface have consistently shown that they're way stronger than average human beings, and this guy's also a bullet timer, funnily enough. But if you don't like those ends for whatever reason, there are tons of examples in the Scream franchise that showcase the fact that Ghostface is at least a superhuman level character in terms of his speed, being able to catch up to vehicles and the such. such. So once again, this guy is more than likely a predator victim, as well as the predator deals with superhumans once again. I don't want to use the same exact examples, but this is the guy who hunts the most dangerous things in the universe. You know, xenomorphs, other alien creatures, and some stuff that we see in the film even implies that these guys hunted dinosaurs in the ancient past. So yeah, even a composite Ghostface, like composite movie Ghostface anyways, would be a predator victim. So let's move on to our next slasher. With us firmly establishing the Predator stats and such, I don't really want to waste my time with Chucky. He's an actual doll, but for those of you guys who are interested, the humans in the Chucky verse have consistent wall level durability showings, and Chucky can obviously game in them with his knife and stuff. And I mean, that's pretty much it, you know, like Chucky just hits the Predator with his knife. It doesn't do anything, and the Predator just breaks the toy. Here we've got Michael Myers, a character that's no stranger to the channel, as I've covered him in the past, but instead of going over the reboot timeline version of the character, I'm going to be going over the version shown from the Thorn continuity, as he has much better feats. Most of these showings stem off of his durability, and a lot of them unironically find themselves to be in the wall to small building level ranges. But starting with the couple of AP things we've got, he's able to overpower human beings once again, but the best thing I could find was a showing from Halloween 2 that's in the novelization, in which he was able to break apart the steel hospital bed that Laurie Strode was on, which actually comes out anywhere between wall to small building level. This level of power is consistent with the explosion that he would go on to survive that's shown at the end of the film, and it's also consistent with the fact that he could survive another explosion as depicted in the Halloween 4 novelization, which also gets into those small building level ranges. He has tons of wall level durability showings on top of that, and it's just really safe to say that this guy is in that level of power. So unironically, if the Predator hit him with a plasma caster, you could argue that he could just walk it off. You know, it might knock him out for a bit, but it wouldn't really kill him. And as for the shape's speed, it's also very impressive, with him being consistently shown to just blitz human perception, which off the bat would get him into those subsonic speed ranges. But in the Halloween 2 novelization, we have an instance in which the shape is able to move at speed so fast that no cameras at the time could pick him up, even in slow motion, which would grant him supersonic speed ranges. This is consistent with the fact that he's also a bullet timer. So yeah, the shape is certainly an upgrade in terms of AP and speed. So how would the Predator deal with them? And well, we already talked about how a plasma caster shot might not be enough to put him down, but I still would give the edge to the Predator, as we've seen in the films that super predators can endure small building level blasts point blank and get up even quicker than Michael Myers can, and even starved Yaojas can contend with them and are shown to be physically comparable to them. So overall, both of these characters can endure small building levels amounts of energy, but Michael Myers kind of gets, you know, knocked out and put in comatose by such levels of power, whereas the Predator can just get right back up and contend with other predators who output similar ranges. And speed isn't an issue for the Predator either, as one, he can just, you know, become camouflaged to the point where, you know, Michael can't blitz something that he can't see. And on top of that, he wouldn't even blitz him to begin with, as the Predator also has many consistent bullet time and showings throughout extended canon. So with that being said, let's move on. For this portion of the video, I'm going to be going over zombie Jason, as well as Freddy Krueger when he's in the real world, as despite being far weaker than his dream world self, he's still strong enough to physically kind of sort of contend with Jason Voorhees. And essentially, Jason at best really has the same scaling as Michael Myers, as even while in his human state, Jason has a variety of wall-level feats, whether that's just comically overpowering human beings or just busting through houses. It's a level of attack potency that he gets very casually. But when it comes to the small building level stuff, ironically enough, the best things I could find really just stem from his durability, as he's able to survive massive explosions, with this one coming out to around wall plus, and this one from Freddy vs. Jason actually being a city block level explosion, but unfortunately due to their proportions and the amount of energy that they endured, they only get around small building off of it, which is consistent with my overall thesis. And as for his speed, it's even worse than Michael Myers, as while Michael Myers has a lot of concrete subsonic scaling as well as bullet time in instances, I couldn't find anything like that for a zombie Jason, as he caps anywhere between peak human to superhuman. So with stats like that, the Predator would definitely beat a zombie Jason in a real life Freddy Krueger, as Predators have far more consistent and casual small building level showings Like, I already mentioned the plasma caster, and while it might not take one shot to take these guys out, you know, 1 or 2 or 3 on top of that in quick succession, that might get the job done unironically. And as for his physicals, we even see, you know, veteran predators such as Wolf, who can box with the Predalien, a character who could burrow through, you know, concrete to a small building level yield. It's a level of power that's very consistent in this franchise. So with that being said, let's move on to the top tiers of the slasher villains. Honestly, guys, all things gotta come to an end, and I think this is where the Predator stops for the most part. As firstly, I want to go over Dreamworld Freddy Krueger, a character who has massive reality warping abilities. Once he's in the dreamscape, he's able to construct entire planets, worlds, and he can chuck entire structures into space, which would yield mountain level kinetic energy. And keep in mind, this is all a low boss scale, but I think at this point, the only way the Predator could get a win against Freddy is if he pulled him into the real world, where we established the Predator should just be able to incapacitate him, or at least get some type of a win con going on. It's a slight chance for sure, but at least it's a win con, something that he doesn't have for our next characters. And I'm going to be starting with Uber Jason now, the Jason from Jason X. This guy's so powerful that he can survive just crashing into the planet Earth, as well as the destruction of space stations, which would get him into those large building level ranges. And at that point, the Predator doesn't really have anything that can physically take him out. You could even argue that he would survive the Predator's wrist nuke, as in spin-off novels of Jason X, he's able to survive an explosion that pierced the atmosphere, which when calculated would mean that it was a blast equivalent to around 43 megatons. And seeing as how most Predator nukes only get into the kilotons, and you can make a real case for Uber Jason just walking off the Predator's wrist nuke. And wait till we mention the supernatural threats, the Pinheads, a character so powerful that at the peak of his power, he can manifest himself to such a great size that he's dwarfing entire countries and continents. Or Pennywise, the character who is the self-described destroyer of worlds, a character who just by landing on the planet Earth tanked a building level plus explosion. And no, you can't just say mean things to him or believe in yourself in order to beat him. It's a little bit more complicated than that. The characters in the film need to perform the ritual of Chud, and arguably they didn't even perform it correctly until one of the losers died. I'm not going to give you guys a whole literary analysis. Matt Pack's got a pretty comprehensive video on the subject, so just go check that video out for my explanation on why you can't just say mean things to Pennywise. Like, we even see in the new Pennywise television show, the U.S. military is going to be rolling up on him. And seeing as how we know this is a prequel, he survives that encounter. So it's not as simple as believing in yourself and being mean to him. So unfortunately, the Predator has no win cons there either. And in conclusion, that's pretty much the matchup. The Predator solos pretty much 90% of the slasher villains, but once we get into those supernatural ranges, like, he kind of just finds himself outclassed. And yeah, that's pretty much this week's video, but before we dip out, I have an announcement. Thank you guys for 100,000 subscribers, and I know I said that my 100,000 subscriber celebration video would be Mario vs. Sonic, and we're still gonna do that. But I want to finish the spooky season out, so we're going to be moving that video to Black Friday for 2 reasons. 1, it's a massive matchup, and I'm going to need a lot of research. And 2, I'm actually going to have an animator on that video, so I don't want to go into the specifics of it quite yet, but just stay hyped. But as always, thank you for watching this video, and I'll be back next week with another video. But as always, I'll see you guys next week. But until then, stay big, G fans.